Welcome to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I am Lorianne Casdia, and we're here with our co-host today, Vince Perrotta. Say hello, Vince.
Hi there. Good afternoon.
Our goal here at Healthy Lifestyle is to inspire, educate, and empower you to fulfill a healthy, emotional, spiritual, and physical life so you can feel empowered to live the life you have always wanted and dreamed. And of course, with Vince here, you know you're going to laugh a lot because that just comes with the territory with him. And today we're going to light you up with some verbal caffeine and possibilities. How are you, Vince?
I'm doing really well, thanks. How about you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really well. It's a beautiful day and just inspired, always inspired when you're on the show.
Thanks. It's always a lot of fun to be here. It's funny. I was thinking today is the perfect day to just maybe cut out a little bit and spend a little extra time having a little more fun than a little more work.
But, I like that.
Somebody's got to be responsible for what goes on here. So
I love responsibility. You know that we talk about 100% responsibility.
See, I've heard that expression, 100% responsibility. And I kind of am in the camp that responsibility is split, right? It's never really 100% responsibility. Why would you say that?
Because it is. You're 100% responsibility to what you do. We're not talking about responsibility of other people. They're 100% responsible for, or should be, for what they do and say. And we're 100% responsible for what we do and say. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, but I can't control other people's behavior. I can't control the randomness of things that happen, right? So how can I have 100% responsibility? There has to be some percentage of responsibility because it's outside my control.
So let me, and I love that you say that. It's not about out of your control because everything you control is within your power, right? Because just by the statement, everything you can control, right? So let's just say there's an equation that I utilize for demonstrating 100% responsibility. So event plus your response equals the outcome, right? So if we have an event, whatever that event is, and we respond one way, the outcome is going to be one way. If we have an event and respond a different way, the outcome is probably going to be different, right? Most likely.
Great.
So to give an example of that, and where in the E, it's an equation called E plus R equals O. And I want everybody to write it down. E plus R equals O. Where in that equation is your responsibility? 100%.
Okay, so let's take a little example. I'm driving on the highway and cruising along, and I want to get in the lane next to me. The guy's not letting me in, so I accelerate really fast, right? So now I'm trying to get in front of him, and I go to get, now that person pulls up. So now I might or I might not wish them a nice day in a very nice way.
So wish them number one, okay.
Right, but so I'm agitated. I'm going to have a response to that person, right? I mean,
but your response was earlier than that, Vince. So the event was you wanted to change lanes. You wanted the opportunity to move in the other lane. Your response was, okay, I'm going to get aggressive and I'm going to speed up to try to get in front of him. What could have been a different response?
Could have gone faster.
Could have gone faster.
No, I got to slow down a little bit, let that guy pass me, and then, kind of eased in a little bit behind them.
So then if you had done that, as opposed to speeding up and getting aggravated and maybe showing them that they were number one, what would be the outcome of you letting that person get in front of you and you got behind him or her?
It probably would have saved a level of frustration, for sure.
Right.
Aggravation.
So E plus R equals O, where your point of power is your response. So I'll give an example of that. I used to, and I know you're going to find this odd, but when my son Nick was living at home before he went away to college, we would have this dance every Saturday. I don't know about you when your kids were living at home, but I know for a fact I put a rug in his room. I couldn't tell you what color it was because I never saw it anymore because his stuff was all over his room. And I'm kind of a neatnik. So I like everything put away and nice. I know you find that odd, but I am. I saw your face. The listeners can't, but that wasn't nice.
Like a really nice shelf that's behind you that is so meticulously laid out with everything in its place.
I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, moving on. So he had his stuff all over the room and it was so upsetting to me. It really would stress me out. And every Saturday we would, clean the house, lighten up the house, make sure it was taken care of, put things away, do the laundry. And the laundry I would fold all nice. I'd give it to him and it'd end up all over the floor, all over his bed, wherever it was that he put it. It was very stressful. So every Saturday we would have this dance where I would get aggravated. I would say, clean up your room. And he would sit there continuing to play his game or read a book or whatever it was that he was doing. And I would go back to cleaning my room and I would start like talking to myself. Also not odd, but I would be aggravated. Why can't he clean his room? I don't understand why he's being so disrespected. I feel disrespectful. I felt very disrespected that he wouldn't do that. And I didn't understand it. And, it's just like he lives in a clean home and everything's put away. I don't understand why his room is this way. So I would go on and I would be aggravated and then he would be aggravated because I was aggravated. And then we would start our day and maybe go out east and we were both like really rigid and cranky. And one day I decided, you know what, there has to be a different way for me to respond to this. So I went down the hallway and I just said, I'm just going to close the door because if I don't see it, I can't get as aggravated by it. It's going to exist anyway. I can't change this. So the only thing I could do was change my response. So I closed the door so I couldn't see it when I was walking down the hallway. I went back to my room and I started putting my stuff away from the week. And what happens is he comes to the door and he's like, what the heck? And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, what was that about? And I said, I just don't want to see it. If that's how you want to live, God bless. Godspeed. I don't want to see it. As long as there are no bugs, whatever. And I just left it at that. And he literally stood there and stared at me. So 3 outcomes came from that. One is I wasn't self-talking. I wasn't ramping myself up. I wasn't getting aggravated myself. 2 is, and this was the unintentional outcome, which happened, which was a good surprise. I went down the hallway. Suddenly he's picking stuff up. What the heck? Had I thought about this response earlier, it would have been a lot easier. And 3rd is, and happy to say, I found out and discovered the color of his carpet was blue before he moved on to college. Because I knew that eventually when he moved to college, I would discover that there was in fact a rug there and it was blue. So we had 3 really nice outcomes because I changed my response. So the event was he wasn't cleaning up his room. And that was me having him do something that I wanted, that he did not want to do. And it wasn't life, threatening or anything like that. I changed my response and received a different outcome. That makes sense?
It does. So essentially it's when we face life, I guess the thing to think about is it's very reflexive to say, this is what someone did to me. And I think a little bit as I'm listening to you, maybe the real thing is, what did I do to allow this situation to happen? Maybe that gives me the opportunity, because I can be responsible for what I do and maybe controlling what I do. While I get the responsibility, I also get the better outcome that I'm looking for.
Yeah, you can. As long as you're doing what you want for you. So, you go someplace and I walk into the room. I can't expect everybody to be happy. I want everybody to be happy. Vince, you will be happy today. That's what I want. That's the only reason why I'm going to have a good day. If you're not happy, you're going to make me have a bad day. That's not going to be good. That's not really an inspired thought process, right? That expectation is not something that's really going to be achievable. What can be achievable is how I come into it. And the same thing with this example is I was expecting him to do something I wanted, and I was getting upset because he decided he didn't want to do it. I changed my perspective, so it no longer bothered me. I found a way that allowed him to do what he needed to do. And really, was it really affecting me? Other than it wasn't clean the way I like my room cleaned, right?
So, and I get your point. So I guess we should take a step back here.
Yeah.
And say, how do you define, because I want to understand that from you, how do you define 100% responsibility? Because you give me a couple examples, but let's put some parameters around this.
Yeah. So the definition basically is that E plus R equals O. It's what's in your control. That's your PowerPoint. It's 100% responsibility is what's in control. And taking action to just look at what is my responsibility. I used to take on other people's responsibility. I'm responsible to how I react to the event. I'm responsible to what choices I make to the event. And that R in that equation is really the important element of finding that huge, oh my gosh moment, right? So there was no blame in it. So when we're not taking 100% responsibility, you'll recognize it by this. This is the equation you're going to look for too. Am I blaming something? It's not the weather's fault. It's not my son's fault. It's not my family's fault. It wasn't that my mother didn't speak nice to me when I was young. None of that. You're not blaming the government. It's whatever's within your power. And we have to look at what's actually in our power. And so many times we confuse that with people doing what we want.
So it seems like you're actually talking, because what I need is a way to determine how do I engage, right? What that responsibility is. What is it that I am taking responsibility for? Yourself
and the reaction to what's happening. So in your example, you determined that you wanted to get over into the left lane. I'm assuming you were moving left. I don't know why. That's the visual I got. You want to move into that lane, and the other person said, "Oh hell no, you're not doing that. I'm going to move up, and I'm going to be not nice, and I'm not going to be a good community member and allow you in. And I'm gonna block you out because you're going to stay there because that's the only power I have in my day. So I'm going to be cranky about it." And then you got cranky about it because you wanted to get in there. So now you play that little game and now you're all agitated. I'm sure that they went on with their life and they were perfectly content and they felt like they won one. That's okay. But we could have avoided all that escalated emotional attachment by just taking responsibility of our choices and change our choice to, okay, is this really important? Does this really matter in the span of my day? Or can I just get behind them? Does it really matter? So it's just that shift. All right, here's the event. And does it really matter? Somebody speeds up and cuts me off. Am I going to yell at them for the next 5 miles? Probably in the past I would have. And I might have sped up and tried to chase them down. Maybe in the past, that's the New Yorker in me. Oh, really? Bring it. But now does it really matter if it takes me a few more minutes? If somebody's in that much of a rush, just go ahead, go in front of me. How I look at it now is, go ahead in front of me because you'll probably save me from getting into an accident or by that mere motion from getting a speeding ticket or anything like that. And that small delay is not going to really change my life or change my day. Make sense?
It does make sense. So let's kind of focus in on the fact that this is obviously healthy lifestyles, right?
Sure.
In a healthy lifestyle, if I'm trying to take 100% responsibility, and being the perennial dieter and workout person that I am, in lieu of saying, I don't have the time because work is too demanding, or I can't do this because I can't watch my diet because I go out. What's that?
Those are just excuses. They're justifiable excuses.
They're my excuses.
Having you not, I know you like your excuses, don't pout. Those are justifiable excuses that are telling me you are not taking 100% responsibility, because that's not why. Because if you could, you would. So you're really saying can't. And can't really means won't. Can't is an excuse. Won't is you're taking responsibility. I won't work out today because I'm choosing not to make the time for it. Different statement, right? That's 100% responsibility. That's taking 100% responsibility of what you're doing. And a lot of people say, oh, I don't like saying won't because it sounds so aggressive. But can't is almost a victim verbiage, right? Whereas won't is a statement of fact. It kind of goes back to what, Anthony's my partner. And he said something when we first started seeing each other, which was annoying as all could be to me. And now to me is the most brilliant statement in the world. So what the statement is that doesn't work for me. What? What do you do with that? That doesn't work for me is a hard stop. Won't is a hard stop. No, I won't do that. It's a hard stop. There's nowhere you can go from that. Can't is I can talk you into it. Can't? Oh, you can. Oh, you can go to workout. Come on. If I go with you, you could go, right? So now you can, right? So we're changing that, but that doesn't work for me. Doesn't imply what I want to do is bad or not a good idea, right? It just says, I don't want to do it. It doesn't work.
You're taking the judgment component out of it.
Yeah.
Basically just making it kind of more down the road than, just that doesn't work for me.
Yeah, that doesn't work for me, but God bless you. Go, Godspeed, have fun. So in your example, that didn't work for the person who was driving next to you who decided to not let you in. It didn't work for him to let you in. So because it didn't work for him, you had to make a different choice, but you still had a choice. You could have sped up and tried to get in front of the guy in front of him, and why do I assume it's a him? I don't know, but you could have gotten in front of them. Or you could have just fell back a little bit and got behind him. So there are other choices without the blame and without excuses. And when you're not in 100% responsibility, you utilize those cards: blaming, excuses. Blame is an excuse.
It right? is right. They're all excuses essentially, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think, and